I really like Dale Ulrey's illustrations. She gives an updated 1950s sort of styled Oz Hello fellow Ozians, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at a Wizard of Oz illustrator who illustrated 2 Wizard of Oz books back in the 1950s, and that was Dale Ulrey. Back in the 1950s, Riley and Lee, the original publisher of the later Oz books, was trying to find new ways of repackaging and selling the Oz books. One of the ideas that they came up with was to have new illustrations for the Oz books. Riley and Lee didn't own all the rights to all of the Oz books. One of the books that they didn't own the rights to was, of course, the most important book in the series, the first one. Riley and Lee had to wait until The Wizard of Oz was in public domain to actually print The Wizard of Oz. And since the original illustrations from that book were done by W. Denslow and not John R. Neal, there wouldn't be a consistent through thread as far as how the books were presented and designed. So Riley and Lee decided we're just going to redesign all of them. And Dale Ulrey was the artist that was selected to do this. The first of the 2 Oz books that she illustrated was the Tin Woodman of Oz. You might be asking, why this particular Oz title? Well, that's because Riley and Lee needed to renew the rights, and it was a great opportunity to make a completely new edition of this book. This particular copy features the original dust jacket, which features Dale Ulrey's Tin Woodman on the front, features him on the spine, and also on the back in a very nice OZ design. The front and spine are also embossed onto the cloth-bound book. This book features blank end pages. The copyright page on this book doesn't signify that it is the 1955 edition of the Tin Woodman of Oz. Just like with all of the other editions of the Oz books, never actually telling you which edition it really is. But this one's very easy to spot, because the illustrations are not done by John R. Neal. All of the chapters feature letter boxes featuring the Tin Woodman in various different poses. One thing that is unfortunately missing from this edition of the Tin Woodman of Oz are color plates. All of Dale Ulrey's illustrations are in black and white. But I really like Dale Ulrey's illustrations. She gives an updated 1950s sort of styled Oz. Earlier in Dale's career, she was a cartoonist, and you can certainly see that coming out in her Oz artwork. It's an interesting fusion of comic book art with John R. Neal. Makes for a very interesting visual style. This wasn't the only edition of the Tin Woodman of Oz that featured Dale's illustrations. There was one more edition that did. And I have that one to show you. It features different dust jacket art, this time done by Roy Craft. This edition is from 1959. There is, of course, a little discrepancy on this particular dust jacket art, in that it notes that John R. Neal did the original illustrations for this book. And while it is true that John R. Neal did do those illustrations, this is the Dale Ulrey edition. And unlike our last book that featured those embossed front that was reflected in the dust jacket, this edition is blank on the front and the back. So if you should find an edition of the Tin Woodman of Oz that features Dale Ulrey's illustrations but doesn't have that dust jacket, that's the easiest way of knowing which version you have. One thing that's a little strange about this edition is that there's no end papers. So that's another very easy giveaway that that's the 1959 edition and not that earlier 55 edition. But enough about the Tin Woodman. Let's get to Dale's second Oz book. And that was Riley and Lee's first printed edition of The Wizard of Oz. Dale's illustrations feature the wizard on the front cover, on the spine, And just like with the Tin Woodman of Oz, there is another illustration of the wizard in an OZ on the back. Continuing the same design from the Tin Woodman of Oz, the Wizard of Oz also features those same elements embossed on the front and spine. The book's end papers feature a newly designed map of Oz done by Dale Ulrey. And unlike the Tin Woodman of Oz, this one actually does give us the real copyright date of this book, of 1956. The illustrations in this book are not completely in black and white. This time, Riley and Lee has decided that they're going to print it in black and this sort of orange-red color. Dale's illustrations for The Wizard of Oz certainly give references to other previous illustrators who have done Wizard of Oz books. Like, of course, W.W. Denslow, but there's also some other references to Evelyn Kopelman as well. Dale did wonderful illustrations in these two Oz books, and it's a shame that she wasn't allowed to do more. Both of these editions didn't sell well, and that's the reason why the entire idea of having a new illustrator redo the Oz books was scrapped. Riley and Lee found other ways of reissuing the Oz books, like, for instance, the new different edition of the Tin Woodman of Oz that came out a couple years later with the Roy Craft artwork on the dust jacket. If you would like to know more information on the illustrator Dale Ulrey, be sure to pick up the Spring 2024 edition of The Bomb Bugle from the International Wizard of Oz Club. Do you have any of these editions of these Oz books? Maybe you grew up with Dale Ulrey's illustrations. Let's have a discussion down in the comment section. And if you liked that video, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe. New videos are posted every 2 weeks on the 15th and last day of each month. And if that doesn't satisfy your appetite for Oz, follow the link in the description to ozclub.org and join the International Wizard of Oz Club. Until next time, bye y'all.